Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online. This week, it's beautiful real estate. 3 classic vehicles, one with an extraordinary story. So why not relax in your favourite chair and enjoy this week's Classic Restos on the road. Welcome back. Before we launch into today's glorious episode, encapsulated in a delectable backdrop, here is just a little about where I'm filming today's show. Meet Max and Tina. They have been together 40 years, now enjoying a quieter lifestyle, away from the hustle of a corporate existence. Home is now on this gorgeous half-acre in Southern Regional New South Wales, complete with a 5-star chook house and a greenhouse. Now, not for one moment am I trying to turn Classic Restos into a country homes program. I'll leave that to the expertise of our lovely Katrina Roundtree. But when you incorporate a place like this and some classic cars, well, I have to ask you, does it get any better? This original home was built in 1860, undertaking a restoration in 1915. Graced with gardens, the serenity here is addictive. And to tell us more, here's Tina. Good morning, Tina. Welcome to today's show.
Morning, Fletch. Thank you for having me.
That's okay. I could turn up here every morning.
I do, and I enjoy it every morning.
Yourself and Max have done a beautiful job here. The real estate is superb. It's just it just drips with that Australiana, the serenity, the peacefulness. It's just glorious.
It's a beautiful place to be, actually. We love this house. We fell in love with it. We were looking for a tiny house, and we found this one. But we've loved being here. And
I love your version of tiny, I've got to say.
Yeah, 8 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. It's not tiny on cleaning day.
No.
But it's
But look at the reward. It's like having a big yard and you get on your ride on, and when you're finished, you look at it like a park, and that's the reward, isn't it?
Actually, the outside is where I really love to be, but the inside is a charming old house. Yeah. And it's been a labour of love. It's been hard work. I don't look like this for nothing. But we really do love this place, and we love being able to walk into town. And it's just such a lovely house. It was built in 1860. And that's a lot to be said. She's still standing.
Country, contemporary, beautiful charm. The restoration also around 1915, correct?
That's right, yeah. They pulled down the old courthouse to put the railway through, and we had the building materials from there, skirting boards, bricks, all that stuff. So, yeah.
Lovely. Tina, we step inside, we see the glorious staircase, the high ceilings, the chandeliers, the beautiful floor. It definitely has that element of warmth. It's so inviting, you just want to stay there forever.
Yeah, well, we found the house, and a lot of other people had looked at it and thought that it could be renovated, but we don't renovate, we restore. Yeah. Because we wanted to keep the old world charm of. She was a beautiful house already. Yeah. She just needed some love.
Everything here, Tina's beautiful. Even the chooks get a 5-star chook house.
They do.
I reckon other chooks around the area would be envious of those bantams and the roosters over there.
Max doesn't do anything in halves. And yes, it is a Taj Mahal. It's completely insulated, that chook house, and so are the bees.
Yeah. I think the very first house that I rented once upon a time wasn't quite of that stature.
I think I've lived in ones that were worse than that as well.
Not only do the chooks get looked after here, but the greenhouse over there, that's beautiful. Again, in the old days, that would have been a 2-bedroom home the size of that thing. That's beautiful, and the warmth in there with the glass and the painted timber, just glorious. Now, hang about, because there are cars coming on today's show, and certainly it almost could be it's like a country home segment. But I just believe that before we start talking about the cars here, it's nice to include the hard efforts that you and Max have done here, and that flows on to the classic cars that you have. Now, I do believe they are lurking around here somewhere, Tina.
We do have cars. Come with me, Fletch.
All right, there you go. There's my invitation. Let's go. And beautifully led in by Tina, it's now time for this guy here. How you doing, Max?
Good, thanks, Fletch.
Thanks for letting us come here today.
Oh, pleasure to have you.
Thank you. This is beautiful. This really is. The car behind us, as soon as I saw it, I just thought of Elliot Ness. We're back in the Al Capone area here, 1934 Ford, a beautiful patinaed vehicle. What can you tell us about it?
Well, it belonged to the newsagent in Devonport, Tasmania, and he passed away in about 1970, and it stayed in a shed until about 2005, and I've had it since then, and it's done 100,000 miles, genuine. The old fella never took it in the rain. Wow. It's got no rust. It's an original engine and runs beautifully.
Unbelievable. Around about 150-odd thousand Ks, 160,000 Ks if you do the math, which is just irrelevant anyway. But to see the car here in this condition, unrestored, with an original interior, we look at those seats, and even just touching the leather, you could just imagine the people that have been through the vehicle over the years, the conversations that have gone on inside the car. What a rolling timeline of history, Max.
It's a real time warp. Everything's original in it, and amazingly, it still cruises on the freeway at 100, 110, which the only thing is it's hard to stop. It's a bit frightening, but it's and totally reliable. We've been down to Tasmania twice in it, up to Queensland, and never missed a beat.
Now, the car hasn't had a lot of owners. That's an incredible thing too. It hasn't passed through a lot of hands, Max.
Well, I'm virtually the second owner. Someone bought it from the estate and was going to turn it into a hot rod, but fortunately it never happened, and it just stayed in the shed all those years.
And a right-hand drive car too, obviously Australian assembled.
Yeah, I think they were Australian assembled. It's got a little plaque on it that says "Made in the British Empire."
Now, you've got some other cars here. This is the first cab off the rank on today's episode. We've got a couple more, so I know you're busting to show us those, Max.
Yes, I'd love to show you. Yeah, and most of them are one-owner cars. All right. I like them really original.
Good on you, Max. Stay right where you are. Back with more after this.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be.
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. Welcome back. What do we got here, Max?
It's a 59 Studebaker Lark, and I think they stopped production in 1965. So it's built at the time when Studebaker were having a bit of financial problems, and they produced they were the first compact car, and they did very well for a couple of years, and then the Falcon came out and I think killed them.
What a gorgeous car this Studilark is, and 1959 interesting too. About to embark upon the square era of the 60s. It's still got some rounded off lines here, a fairly short trunk. But when we look at the front of the car, it's very muscly. It looks like the car's been working out. It's got a real tough stance about it, Max, hasn't it?
Yeah, Studebaker were Mercedes dealers, and they got away with putting virtually a Mercedes grille on the front of them. And it was virtually a Studebaker champion with the ends cut off to make it a compact.
Interesting car too, 259 engine up front there, and they used to race these in Bathurst too.
Yeah, they were used as police pursuit cars in Victoria, and the Victorian Police raced off 2 years running. They raced the highway patrol cars.
They did a supercharged version too, the 289.
They made a 289 with a supercharger. Yeah, I'd love to have one of those.
Pretty stout car back in the day, 289 cubes, of course, no affiliation with the Windsor, with the 289 there. Now, the way that this car, there's so much to talk about. Okay, we look at the wheels. Now, not original wheels, Max?
No, these aren't the original wheels. I've got the original hubcaps for it, but unfortunately when I shipped it out, the wheels wouldn't fit in. I didn't want to wreck the interior, so the wheels didn't come. So eventually I'll get original wheels for it.
Now, when you say you brought it out, now where did you find the car?
I found it on Facebook. It was from California. The bloke had it for 18 years, and he bought it. He was the second owner. So
Hang on, he found it on Facebook. What, you sent the car a friend request?
Well, I'm a member of I joined up with the Studebaker Addicts Club, which I've always been a Studebaker addict, and I saw it advertised. I saw it posted there, and I saw there was a lot of comments about how it won quite a few concours. So I spoke to a fellow in America, a very nice bloke, and he kept every receipt for the last 18 years, and he had actually never drove it. He drove it to the port for me, and he rang me up and he said, drives fantastic. I've never driven it before.
A lot of Americans, very astute people when it comes to that. A lot of them, they keep every document. And for my American audience that watch every episode of Classic Restos, hats off to you there. Finding the vehicles, because they made so many, they really did. I mean, they made millions every year. And, what's left, and to find preserved vehicles such as this one here, having every receipt, wow. Okay, we look at the paint. To me, it's a turquoisey colour. Is it? What's the proper definition of that, Max, for the paint colour?
It's called Hawaiian green. It's the original colour. It has been resprayed, but it's the original colour. Wow. And it's in beautiful condition. When I put it up on the hoist, underneath, it's brand new.
It is
quite amazing.
Isn't that wonderful for a 1959 car to say that? Beautiful too with the contrasting. The silver roof, the bit of the two-tone there going on, which is very nice too. Interior looks like it's been redone, but it's been done tastefully, because to me it's a very factory fabric that they've used there.
It is the original. It's an original fabric. They have been redone, but it's been done very beautiful job. Apparently, it took he waited for 2 years to get the upholstery done, and he's looked after it. And it drives like a brand new car.
And automatic transmission as well.
Yeah, it's an automatic, but it's a shame it's not a supercharged one, but I'm always on the lookout for one of those.
Maxie wants that supercharger. He does, doesn't he? Can't knock him for that. Imagine having one of these Larks with a factory 289 supercharged engine. Wow. So driving the car, Max, what's it like?
It drives like a brand new car. The trouble is I think I've had it for nearly 2 years, and I've driven. I was looking at the logbook the other day. I've driven it 7 times in 2 years. So
this is what happens. This is what we do. I'm a victim of that myself. You look at the log and think, I'm sure I've driven it more than that, but I don't know. Life gets in the way. But I think psychologically, it's knowing that we've got them and they're being preserved. They're in the shed and we can look at them whenever we like. And sometimes there's lots of meaning in that as well.
There certainly is, and it takes me back to my childhood. My dad always wanted a Studebaker Lark, and when I was about 13, we took one out for a test drive, and my mum thought it was way too fast. That we'd had an FB Holden at the time, and she thought this was way too fast for us, and so she wouldn't let the old man buy one. Well, I've always loved Studebakers since I was a kid, and in those days, in the late 50s and early 60s, Studebakers were really the gun car. They were the high performance car of the era. They were probably the only V8 you could get in those days was a Ford Custom Line, and Ford Custom Lines were getting a bit dated. When the Studebakers, the Larks, came over to Australia, because they were a small car and had a big V8, none of our compact cars had V8s. We were happy with a Holden with 70 horsepower, and suddenly, a V8 with 200 horsepower was enormous, and so they were the high performance car. And as a little kid, I used to think, oh, one day I'm going to have a Studebaker, and so I've had a couple over the years, but they've always been bombs. And this one, when I found this one, it was a real nice car, so I thought I'll have to have it. So, but it's just one of those cars that you have it, but you put it aside and you just like to look at it every now and then. We take it for a drive once in a while, and there's a cruising car club up here, and we go for a cruise, but it's a lovely car to drive. It actually feels just like a new car when you're on the road. It feels like a old-time muscle car. It's got plenty of power, and quite good handling too. For that era, I've got other cars which don't handle half as well or have half as much acceleration, but the Studebakers have a real tough feeling about them, and that's what I like about them. And they're just they're a good sized car.
Okay, Max, well, I know that there's another car coming up that you've got to hang around for, because it comes with a unique story. So, Max, thanks for sharing the Studebaker with us.
Thanks, pleasure.
When I was a kid, I loved cars, still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. Got a classic? Got to get it with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646, and keep in mind too that the Shannons Club awaits you with their own in-house productions such as Shannons Club TV, Legends of Motorsport, Driven, End of an Era. You can catch classic Restos there as well, along with a host of other really cool stuff awaiting you as Australia's largest and most comprehensive online automotive hub. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. Welcome back. It's time now for the next car in the collection belonging to Max and Tina. This car comes with great history and a fantastic story. This car you might like to share to the people watching this episode as to, well, how I found you with this car.
Oh, yeah, I was on my way to Bunnings, and you stalked me. You pulled up and walked up the side of the car. I thought you were trying to get through, but no, just like so many other people, you just wanted to talk about it.
Now, I'd love you to share with us the story of how you found this Ranchero.
Yeah, well, we were in a little town in Tasmania called Corinna, and doesn't have any or very little internet. So we saw it online, and we had one of our daughters in Sydney have a bidding war for us while we were on the line, and she kept saying, I've put this, and you go higher, and eventually she said, you've won, and we're like, oh my gosh, we've got it. And then we said, well, we must be off to the States, then we'll go and pick it up.
Okay, so you landed in LA, and where did you go? And tell us after that where you took this ute from. So not only did Tina and Max buy the ute over in the United States, you just didn't take it straight to your shipper. Tell us where you went.
Well, we had 6 weeks. So we went up to Oregon and picked it up. We said to the guy, what should we do? Where should we go? And he said, Vancouver and maybe Canada. So off we went. We went across to Vancouver Island, over to Canada, all the way up to Banff, camped in Banff, put a tent in the back of it, and we had 6 weeks of just an amazing trip. Did Death Valley, Grand Canyon, California coast, everywhere we could possibly find. Every little town. We didn't really want to hit the big cities much, and we just had 6 weeks of absolute bliss. And you know what? She never once missed a beat.
Are you feeling it? Are you feeling this? To buy a car is one thing, but then go to another country, get in it, and then keep on going virtually. Now, this honest Falcon Ute, this Ranchero, we're talking a 260 V8. It's a factory 4-speed car. Now, the numbers made, share those with us, Tina.
Oh, yeah, they only made 136, and I think it's 42 left in the world, and there's 2 in Australia, and this is one of them.
How cool is that? So we're not talking, respectfully, a car that had a 170 Pursuit 6-cylinder engine in it, or a 144 and someone dropped a V8 in. We're talking factory V8, factory 260, 4-speed on the floor there. The interior, it's just so pleasant to open the door and see an interior that just has never been messed with.
Yeah, it's a lovely car. It's actually my daily drive. It's my car.
Now, the owner, tell us a story there of how long he had the car.
Yeah, he bought it new, and he had spoken to the dealer, and they had only made this 130. He wanted one. Spoke to them, and they said that there wasn't any available. A week later, they called him back and said that there was one available, but he would have to put his name to it immediately.
Okay, so this is back in '63, right?
That's right, yes. And he kept it the whole time. That's his car until we bought it.
To 2015.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, so it was, he did get an optional extra in the car. It's a windscreen washer that you manually push the button on the floor and it squirts water on the windscreen.
Driving around the United States, and I'm quite familiar with the parts that you've been to, what was the response like from the American car guys that would see you pull up in this?
Yeah, we actually weren't expecting any reaction at all, being an American car. But actually everywhere we went, driving down the highway, people would put their thumbs up, or, you pull up somewhere and they want to sit and talk about the car. And yeah, it was obviously a bit of a show car over there too.
This is a little compact car, and when we start talking about a V8, it doesn't have to be a very big V8 for the thing to get going. I just think it's so cool to have that 4-speed too. Through the gears must be real nice.
It likes to really rev before it changes gears. Yep. So yeah, it's got a lot of mumbo. You can get going.
Those little Windsors, they were good for that. Now, in terms of body, Tina, it had paint once upon a time, do you think?
I'm sure it's been touched up over the years. It's been, been a car, so it's needed a bit of love here and there.
Tina, thank you so much for your time. Wonderful. I really appreciate today having us here, filming at your place, putting a beautiful lunch on, showing us there's 2 cars that haven't featured today. We'll have to come back at a later date for that. So really appreciate it, and thank you so much.
Fletch, it's been a pleasure having you here. To have this car in my possession is absolutely a dream. It's a car that has got such character and such faultless lines and beauty about it, but it's also a really nice car to drive. So it actually feels good. You feel like you've got something under the bonnet, and really an honest car. Yeah. So yeah, I love this car. I feel like the guy that bought it from new would have definitely had a relationship with the car like no one else would have been able to have. This is a car that he sought for. He asked for it, was turned down, and then he actually was given the opportunity to buy it. So driving away from that dealership that day, he would have been on top of the moon. He actually would have been, how could you, he's got his baby, he's got everything that he wanted. And how good would you feel driving down the road going, I know everyone's looking at me, I've got something really special. When I'm driving along in this ute, it would definitely be, I have to say, it is a little noisy, but it's a good feel. You really do feel like you've got some power there. You don't have to use it, but you have some power there. It's an eye catcher, and people notice, and you know, we all like to be noticed, be real.
Well, that's it for this week's show, featuring just some of the collection belonging to Max and Tina, along with the chook house and greenhouse thrown in for good measure as well. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.